Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the FiiO JadeAudio JD1, the FiiO JadeAudio FH11, and the FiiO JH5. That's a single dynamic, that's a hybrid 1+1, and that's again a hybrid but a 1+4. These are the latest to a certain extent. Well, these two really are the latest. This one has been released already maybe 2 months, maybe just over 2 months ago. These are the latest budget IEMs from FiiO. Well, budget, also a little bit relative. I mean, this is around $17. This is about $100. But anyway, these are the cheaper, let's say, FiiO JadeAudio products that you can find. And so I thought it would be interesting to just compare it with, some of the other FiiO JadeAudio products, some which are no longer available, some which are still available. And I thought as well it would be interesting to throw into the mix the Q15, although I won't be speaking too much about the Q15. But throw in the Q15, at least this will serve as a proper source to test all of these IEMs. So I won't be hearing any grief saying that, oh, my source is not up to standard to test the IEMs that I do test. So FiiO Q15, and then, well, the IEMs that I just mentioned. Anyway, let's get into it. The JD1, this is the entry level, let's say, IEM from them right now. Single 10mm dynamic driver, LCP diaphragm, 24 ohm impedance, 109 decibel sensitivity. Very easy to drive. Not only very easy, but it plays really loud. It could be easy to drive and you know, could play loud and then start losing its composure. No, it plays loud at any volume level. So plenty of volume there for those of you that like blasting your ears. As for what's inside the box, very, very simple. I mean, the IEMs came over there, some literature, and then it brings, a very disappointing cable. But then again, this is $17, so I guess you can't really complain too much. Brings as well some tips, and it is what it is. Look, that's it. I'm not gonna complain too much. This is a budget product. So anyway, that's the JD1 out of the way in terms of its box. As for the IEM itself, I'm obviously not using the stock cable, as you guys might have already picked up. Let me see if this thing will focus. There we go. It's a nice looking shell metal. It's available in two colors. This silver one, the silver faceplate one, which is metal, or then a matte black one. Both of them are very nice. The shell shape is quite generic, but it looks nice. It looks the business. It's got a good weight to it. You know, it's got, but it fits nicely, non-fatiguing. Just a nice overall looking IEM. I mean, like I said, $17. You can't really complain too much. Okay. FiiO FH11. This as well, very simple. As you can see, the IEMs came over there. There's some accessories. Not using the stock cable. Well, actually, in this case, I am actually using the stock cable. Sorry, I am, and I'll tell you why. I am because on the FH11, as is the case as well with the FD11, which is the one over there, the FD10, sorry, they are using a plug which has got a very unusual shape. Although it's 2-pin, it's got a very unusual shape. Would you focus, please? There we go. It's got a very unusual shape, so you can't really fit any other 2-pin cable unless it's this one. This thing doesn't want to focus today, huh? There we go. FH11 basically is kind of following on the footsteps of the EA3, the JH3, the FH1S. In that, you know, it has a very similar tuning to the ones the before mentioned 3 IEMs, but it is, bar the FH1S, probably the most well done. It shares the same 10mm carbon diaphragm driver as the FD10. Same FD10. Actually, let me just confirm that. Maybe I'm misleading you guys, and I don't want to mislead you guys. FD11, yeah, not 10. FD11, 10. Sorry about that. I should have confirmed this previously, and now I'm misleading you guys, and I don't like to mislead people. Exactly, FD11. My apologies. So they are both called 11, just that the one is a hybrid. That's why it's FH, which is this one, and this is an FD single dynamic driver. I've actually tested this quite a few months ago, maybe some 5 months ago. Anyway, as I was saying, it follows the same kind of tuning principle that they adopted on the FH1S, the JH3, and as well on the EA3, in that you have a nice meaty bass. Probably this one is one of the ones that it's got the most mid bass out of all of them, but it's very nicely done. And then that mid bass, has a relatively early pin again, will peak just under 2k to just over 2k in any of these, and then it's had a dip and then another peak again and another dip. So it's a little bit of a roller coaster. In the FH11, they've actually done that the best out of these two at least. Okay. Anyway, as for the shell, it's got this kind of like conch type shell looks very nice. Surprisingly, it actually fits very nicely. I have no issues with the fit. Okay. I'm using KB07 tips, as you can see, and I'm using the stock cable for the reason which I've already before mentioned. I actually did try the cable that I have here on the FD11 because I did modify the plug here to fit, so I did try it just to see if I would hear any difference. Honestly, I didn't hear anything, so I just left it the way it is. That's the FH11 again, out of the way. And then finally, we've got here the JH5, which is their 1+4. Again, just a quick run through the box so you guys can have an idea. Opens up. Okay, the IEMs came over there. Let me get this out of the way here. And in this box, we have. Well, I think I still got the accessories inside here. No, I don't have. In this box, we basically have the carrying case, which I'll show to you now in a second. Where is it? Okay, let me get this out of the way. There we go. It's got a carrying case, which is where is it now? Where did I place this carrying case? Where did I place it? Where did I place it? Anyway, I'll show you the carrying case in a second. It's a very unusual case in that it's like a drawer. It's a plastic, kind of the same sort of plastic as we have on these cases from FiiO, but it's a drawer. I don't seem to find it, so my apologies. But anyway, I'll try and find it and show you before I finish the review. As for the IEM itself, a 1+4 hybrid, it's got a nice looking shell as well, very classy, resin and then metal faceplate. There you go. The drivers inside that are being used, I cannot confirm what they are because I didn't find any information to that effect. Anyway, what I do know about those BA drivers is they are apparently custom made. The dynamic driver is a carbon diaphragm dynamic driver. It seems to be also a very high quality driver with some sort of a asymmetrical magnetic system. I don't see where that is very unusual. I've seen plenty other drivers, but anyway, they make a big point of mentioning it, so I guess there must be something unique about it. What it does have is a relatively high magnetic flux, 1.5 Teslas, which is pretty high, and actually that does translate. When you listen to it, you do hear that the sound or the impact of the bass is very clean, very it's got a very hard hitting slam, and that's very much basically it. I mean, like I said, resin shell, metal faceplate, custom BAs, carbon CNT, carbon nanotube diaphragm on the dynamic driver. Fits nicely as well. It has actually a decent weight, but not fatiguing nor anything. This is the stock cable that it's got, so it's actually got a nice cable, so I didn't see any need to change it. It uses a 2-pin, as you can see, right? And that's basically it. Anyway, so that's the 3 IEMs. There are the new ones here, the JD1, the FH11, and the JH5. What then did I select here so that I can better talk about them? I'll talk about the dynamics first, and then so that I can talk about the JD, and then I'll mention the hybrids so that I can talk about that and a little bit about the JH5. Okay, the first one that I've got here is the FiiO JadeAudio EA1. This is a single dynamic, supposedly beryllium coated driver, and I mean, for the time, I actually enjoyed it, and I still think it's got a nice sound, although it's got a bit of a bloated bass, it's very mid bass emphasized, and then it's got this crazy PENON. Well, not crazy, it just peaks very late at about 4. Anyway, it's not the most appealing of graphs, but when you actually put it in your ears, it doesn't sound too bad, and well, that's basically it. I also have here the FD11, which is basically showing the same dynamic driver as on the FH11. And this, when I reviewed it, I mentioned that I actually did like it, and I do like it. I think it's a very engaging sound. It's got lots of fun. I would have liked for the tuning to have been a little bit more polished, because the quality of the driver is there. The shell looks the part, you know, and they could have made, I guess, a little bit of an effort just to tune it just ever so slightly better. And I think if they had tuned it better, I'm sure that it would have been received in a more vigorous manner. And the reality is, you know, not much is being said about the FD11. It's kind of fallen a little bit into the forget group, and it's a pity, because like I was saying, it does have an interesting sound. It does sound good. It's got vibes of kind of a better done Blonde 03. Okay, a better executed Blonde 03. Let's put it that way. All right, and then I've got here on this corner the FiiO, the JD7, which is for me, well, I don't want to cut the corners, but out of all the DDs, it's the best DD that's here, and it's for me as well probably the best IEM out of all of them here. Fair enough, this is $75, while that is about $35. That was about $30 when in its day. That's $17. So I guess you could say it's safe to assume that at least out of the DDs it would be the best. But it is the best sounding IEM for me out of every single IEM here, surpassing even the JH5 in my opinion. It's got a kind of a Harman tune. The tuning in itself is very reminiscent of what you will find, for example, on the to a certain extent on an Oxygen or a Tenshin HANA 2021. That kind of tuning just doesn't have as much as extension past 8-9K, but it sounds absolutely fantastic. And the really only complaint you can make on it, it's the shape of the shell, which might not be appealing or fit as easily to everyone as you would like. Whiteboard tip, as you can see, which is what I recommend. And like I said, a very satisfying sound. The bass is phenomenal. It's got speed, texture, resolution, great mids, great upper mids, no sibilance, nothing. Very, very competently tuned, very nice sounding IEM. All right, the JD1. The JD1 has got, like I mentioned, a more, let's say, normal tuning for an IEM of this price. It's got loads of bass to make it engaging, so very much V-shaped. The mids and the upper mids very emphasized as well, with just the right amount of sparkle in the treble. But everything is just a little bit too bloated, and that bloatiness makes for a sound which, if you're not demanding, or if you want an IEM which is maybe to go to the gym, or maybe do some gaming, I guess it would be okay. But if you want to do some critical listening, no, it's not the best. Compared to the EA1, much better. I mean, it is a much better IEM. Even though it's got its flaws in its tuning, it is better tuned than that. But it falls behind than the FD11 and the JD07, the JD07 exactly. Compared to some of the other single dynamics that are available, it does nothing special to bring it to your attention. So something like the Escort Venus, or the something like a lot of the KZ offerings, the DFI, the ZVX, those IEMs will give you more than what this can. Even a Polaris will give you a much more satisfying and competent sound than the JD1 does. So I think its biggest issue is really they just made something for the masses, and you obviously run the risk of, if you don't do something which stands out, to just fall into that box of, okay, it's just another IEM. And I think that's the biggest issue here. So I really don't think it's necessary for me to go into issues of like detailed retrieval and soundstage and all the other technicalities, because it's an average IEM. That's my way of putting it. It's an average IEM that, for example, I'll go as far as this: there are some TWSs out there right now that will even be more satisfying, more engaging, and don't cost a lot more money than what the JD1 costs. Anyway, that's out of the way. The hybrids then. Like I said, I bought the FH1S, supposedly being a 2023 model. That's how it was announced. But the main thing here was the FH11. And obviously I compared it to the two previous models, although the FH1S is of basically the same time as the EA3. Okay, so we're talking back now like 2020, 2021. The EA3 compared to the EA1, it's a better IEM. Not because it's got the BA there to add up in the to give us a little bit more energy in the treble or anything like that. No, it's just better. It's more well tuned. It's more engaging. It's more satisfying. It looks really nice, even by today's standards. Although it's got let's say a generic shell by the shape and so on, it still looks very nice. It's got a great big 13mm dynamic driver. Let me see if I can actually show it to you, because this is something that does deserve to be seen. Huge dynamic driver there. And it makes itself felt, not so much when you connect it up to a phone or something like that, but if you connect it up to a proper DAP or DAC amp like I did here with the Q15, it's very nice. Actually, this I think was to a certain extent the savior for some of the IEMs here, in that because it has got such a nice, warm, lush kind of sound, it actually takes away a little bit of the harshness that you can find, for example, here, and a little bit as well that over energetic presentation that as well the JD1 sometimes has. So the EA3 was in my opinion very, very good. Okay, the JH3, which was the model which afterwards came, this, instead of being a 1+1 like the EA3 was, is a 1+2. And basically what happens with that is that the bass maintains itself equally as entertaining as it was before. It still has that same big 13mm dynamic driver, there we go, but it's not got two BAs. So if over here there was already occasions where that matching, that coherence between the two drivers was felt, and you could see that, okay, there's another IEM, there's another driver here that's now doing the work, and you could feel the BA timbre as well, and so on. It wasn't anything offensive, but you could feel it. On here, this was a major step backwards. You could feel way more the BA timbre on this. You could feel way more the tonality, the excessive energy that was put into the BAs, and it was a step backwards, in my opinion. Honestly, it was truly a step backwards, and a pity, to be honest, to be truthful, a pity. So enter now the FH11. The FH11, like I said, it's got the same dynamic driver that's used on the FD11, and what that means is the bass is very nicely executed. I mean, it's got great bass, but then the way that they've tuned the rest kind of reminds me of these other three. So there's this roller coaster ups and downs, but luckily enough, they've actually made sure that BA's energy is not overemphasized. So although it's a little bit of a roller coaster, the BA actually keeps itself nicely and well mannered, and gives us a sound that is pleasant to listen. It's not groundbreaking. This. Oh, by the way, this is a 1+1. So we started with the 1+1 initially, then they went to a 1+2, then they came back to a 1+1. you know, bass is nice. Like I said, bass is very well executed. I would say the quality of the bass ultimately is even better than the previous two. The mids are fine. You feel sometimes on the audio music here and there that there is a little bit of laid backness in some female vocals, you know, but it has to do with the tuning really. And then treble is okay, a little bit fake, but it's probably the one that's the most correct, even slightly more correct than the FH1S. Okay, technically, I mean, I guess it's decent. This is after all an IEM that costs around $45 to $50. So I'm not gonna you know, beat too much on it and expect the miracles from it. So in terms of its technicalities, I guess the one that probably will be the standout technicality is I would say the imaging, and then the timbre and the tonality. Those I think are the two best. The sound stage, I didn't particularly find it very big. The imaging actually was pretty decent, and the timbre and the tonality as well were pretty decent for the most part, and the detail retrieval as well wasn't bad. Compared to the previous two, like I said, it's definitely an upgrade. It's definitely an improvement over the sound of the two, especially over the JH3. I mean, the difference between these two is monumental. So I'm glad that they've actually really improved it. And then finally here, the FH1S, which, you know, I'm having a little bit of a hard time here talking about the FH1S because I don't recall if the original, so I don't know exactly how much was changed or wasn't changed. What I do know is that it's got that same 13mm driver as we found in the EA and on the JH, and the tuning is very similar to as well these two, but it's out of these three, it's the one that's the best tuned. So it's the one that's got the less energy given to the mids, upper mids, and treble. And with the practical result of that, it's the one that is tonally the most correct out of these three. It's the one that's got the most well done coherence between these previous two and this one. Compared to the FH11, they kind of are a tie. There are occasions where the FH11 is a little bit more capable. There are occasions where the FH1 S is the more capable IEM. The difference here basically will be priced to a certain extent, although the difference is not significant. I mean, they kind of are very much the same value. Fit will be also a determining factor here that will kind of decide, okay, what will be the choice. This shape here for me doesn't bug me, and it fits me nicely, the shape of the FH11. But the truth is that this shape of the FH1S is a more let's say safer shape. One quick thing that I want to mention just before I continue is that it's a little bit difficult to understand the nomenclature, the naming system that they use. Okay, the FD I can understand, yes, it's a dynamic, FD, dynamic, FH, hybrid. I can whenever there's an H, I can understand it's a hybrid. What I don't understand is why they named it. I mean, this is EA1, okay, one driver. They could have named this EA, instead of EA3, they could have named it EA2, and you already know, okay, it's two drivers, and it's a hybrid. There the naming was good. On the JH7, I don't understand as well why they named it that way. On the FD11, I don't understand. While on the FH11, you can already say, okay, the name 11, 1 plus 1, okay, makes sense. So it's got a bit of a confusing naming scheme. JH3, okay, yeah, it makes sense, 3 drivers. So you cannot trust wholeheartedly the naming system that they've implemented because of what I'm saying. So that's it. Like I said, I basically covered the dynamics. I've covered as well these 1+1 hybrids. Out of the dynamics, as I mentioned, this one is undoubtedly stands as the best. this for the price is very good. It could have been just slightly better executed, and it would have been a fantastic IM, which I would have gotten way more success than the success it got. And now, especially with the likes of the TRN Conch out there, I mean, this is really a little bit pointless. The JD1, well, the JD1, I can see the idea, I can understand the idea, but I think they could have made a little bit of a better effort to make it shine. This is no longer available. The A1, the A3, the same thing. This, I think you can still find a few units out there, but I don't really recommend it. And then these two, FH1S and the FH11, I think are two very solid 1+1s. Personally, if you were to ask me which one I would choose, I would go for the FH1S. I don't know, there was just something about the FH1S, especially in certain songs. I just was enjoying it more. I'll give you a quick example, like for example, the bonus track Savannah from John Lennon on here. It just sounded a little bit more appealing to me than what it did here. But the differences are not huge. The other thing here that kind of did annoy me was the fact that the cable doesn't fit. You can't find an alternative cable. You have to basically hack a cable like I did for its brother, and that's something which I think is a pity. They could have made it so that you could use, well, like a flush instead of being a recessed plug. You could have made a flush plug, and then that would have enabled you to use other cables, especially if you have a lot of cables or something like that. Anyway, finally, let's just have a quick talk here about the, well, quick talk, takes as long as it's needed, the FH5. The FH5, it's got an unusual tuning in the sense that, the bass is well executed, fine, but then the way that the mids, the upper mids and treble are done is a little bit unusual. The mids take a little, when the initial pinna gain is done, it takes a little bit of it takes its time to start increasing, and then all of a sudden it increases, and then we have an area there which is significantly emphasized, and then it drops, and then a little bit more, and that's it. And what basically that does is it will recess sometimes certain male vocals and certain female vocals, will make them sound a little bit back, especially on the female vocals. They will sound a little bit more recessed at times. And also that excessive energy all of a sudden, in my opinion, made certain parts of certain songs just sound unnecessarily sharp and non-realistic. Like for example, "Feel So Good" from Diane Reeves is one of those songs. The beginning of that song, you have you got instruments going, and some of those instruments, they are excessively sharp. Not something which is pleasant to listen to for a long period of time, especially the higher volumes. If maybe you listen to it at a low volume, okay, I can still see where it might be good. I mean, like I said, I didn't really take out any other IEMs to compare it, because I just wanted to keep this as a full FiiO thing. For the price, I think that the JH5 should have been again a little bit better executed. I mean, we have the likes of the EM6L. The EM6L walks all over this. No chance whatsoever. You have the likes of the CCA Rhapsody. The CCA Rhapsody walks all over this again. No chance whatsoever. And that's $50. The EM6L is $109. Sometimes you can get it down at $89. So and I'm just mentioning those two. Okay, we've also got the Ziget Chino, which at $89 is better than this. It's got a more satisfying tune than this. So I think maybe, just maybe, I could be wrong, they jumped the gun a little bit and didn't carefully see what was available out there in terms of the other brands and their products of similar style and price. And I don't know, I just don't feel that there's enough here to justify me telling you to go out and buy it. The bass, it's fine. The timbre and tonality, like I was saying, is actually not bad. The mids acceptable. The upper mids and treble can get a little bit like too over sharp, over energetic on certain songs. Technically, soundstage is okay, imaging is not bad, but there's truly nothing here that is a standout thing that you can say, wow, okay, this is really stand out and justifies. It's got a nice shell, yes, fair enough. It's got a nice cable, but how far will that go? This is after all $100, so let's keep that in mind. Okay, and then finally, just a quick thing here about the Q15, which I'm gonna afterwards review with a little bit more detail. This thing is an absolute beast, period. You guys know that I have got my Frankenstein, which I use all the time, and I connect it up with various dongles. Got here my topping and X7, which I love this amplifier. I think its neutrality is fantastic and enables whatever DAC dongle that I use as DACs that I connect up to it, just showcase how non-system interfering it is. Plenty of power, and be it the KNRU7, be it the Yuki, be it the CDA, the M1P, which I've got here, or be it the CD1, the M1P, or be it the FiiO, or be it even the Q15, the M15, sorry, that I've got here, the Q style. This has got a serious performance, honestly. That's what, well, you know that I'm a little bit crazy. That's why I've got two of them for some reason. The Q15 is it's just for me to say it's dramatically better than that, it's not entirely fair, but it is sufficiently better, especially in the way that it is able to extract out of any one of the IEMs that I've connected up to it the best performance that's possible. The timbre, the tonality of the way that they've implemented the AKM 4499 here, in my opinion, has been very well done, and it just it's got that typical AKM sound, which is a little bit more on the warmer side. So things like the JH3 here, which can get a little bit shouty, was actually sounding nice and pleasant way more often than what I was expecting. The same thing with the EA1, and when I had it connected up with the JD7, that thing was singing. It was singing. I mean, this is phenomenal. It really is a good DAC amp. Anyway, I'll talk about this in its own little review with more detail. All I just wanted to say is that if you can afford something of this price, which is about $400 give or take, definitely worthwhile looking into it. Definitely worthwhile. Okay. Anyway, guys, that's basically my take here on all of these offerings from FiiO JadeAudio. I'll show you now quickly the graphs and we'll wrap it up. All right. You take care now. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section here for the JH11, the FH1S, although the FH1S wasn't really the main thing here, but the JH11, the JD1 and the JH5. Anyway, this is the graph of the JH11, the 1+1, which is based on the JD11. Actually, let me get you the JD11 here quickly so you guys can have a quick comparison here. Okay, so that's the JD11. Excuse me. Let me just normalize this at 500 Hertz because that's the frequency at which I normalized everything. And as you can see, in terms of the bass and up to about 2K, they are identical. Just then the JD does this area here better executed to a certain extent, at least looking at it visually it seems like it, and as well it's got more extension than its hybrid counterpart. However, when you do listen to it, you don't perceive things to have this difference that you see, at least graphically. Bass is very equal. And then you notice quite clearly that the sound in the JH11, in the hybrid, although it's got all these peaks and dips, it's got a little bit more detail. It's got a little bit more twinklies and sparklies. Okay, now if that's correct or not correct, that's something that it will be on an individual basis that you will decide. Personally, I feel that the single dynamic version, the JD11, is more correct in terms of timbre and tonality, and overall gives me a more pleasant sound, even in terms of its soundstage. Actually, it's actually able to create a more realistic sense of stage than what the JH11 is capable of doing. Excuse me. But anyway, that's the 11. And just for you guys to have an idea of how it compared to the previous models, I'm going to show you now next to the original EA3, the JadeAudio EA3, again normalized at 500 hertz. And the EA3 wasn't too bad, actually. It wasn't really too bad. It was just the fact that it had a very early PENON gain and made things a little bit a little bit forward. But in terms of the bass execution, it actually wasn't bad or anything. It actually did sound good. It was just that the BA was perhaps a little bit overly emphasized and could kind of sound a little bit fake at times. You could sense that BA timbre and so on. But still, next to the one which I've just placed now, which is the JH3, it wasn't as bad. The JH3 seems to have dropped a little bit the bass, but not really. But it gained a lot of energy up top here. Not so much in this first part here between, let's say, 700 hertz and 4K, but this part here gained a lot more energy, and it's just too much. It's just too energetic. It's not. It's a step backwards compared to the EA3, and then finally compared to the FH1S, which came out at the same time as the EA3. Sorry, let me just actually put those two. So these two were basically the same IEM. The FH1S is more polished. It's got a more controlled bass, more controlled mids, upper mids, and treble, and you notice that in the sound. Comparing it, the FH1S, to the FH11, you notice the FH11 is a little bit more bassy, but the FH1S is still overall more correct sounding. Okay, it's still the more pleasant sounding, and it's also capable of slightly better technicalities. So the FH1S is, in my opinion, still a very competent IEM, although it's based on an older design. Okay, but truth be told, and if the shape of the shell doesn't bug you or anything, the FH11 is very good, and it's not that the differences are monumental. They're not. Okay, so that's the hybrids. Well, part of the hybrids done. Now, onto the the single DDs. I'll start here by showing you the graph of the EA1, and this was the graph of the EA1. So loads of mid bass, plenty of bleed into the mids. It's not really this roll off here that's the issue. Then it's got this PENON gain, which like carries on forever, peaks at like 4K and then drop. The graph doesn't look very appealing. It doesn't. But the truth is, in terms of its sound, it actually isn't too bad. It actually was okay. Now, when you start comparing it, obviously, with the more recent versions, and let's start here straight away with the JD1, which is the new budget single DD. Okay, this is the JD1 normalized at 1K. Completely different. I mean, in terms of the bass execution, it's a very well executed bass. Doesn't have as much bleed as the EA, and then it's just this kind of dips and peaks, and it just makes the sound too unpolished. Okay, that's I think the main thing here. The JD1, the sound is just too unpolished. And there are other offerings at this price range which are more polished, which are more pleasant, even though they might even as well still have this emphasized kind of sound. Okay, like for example, let me just quickly show you here. Let's just, for the sake of the argument here, so that I can kind of try and convey better what I'm trying to tell you guys. Let's take here the Chu 2. Okay, Moondrop Chu 2. All right, that's the Moondrop Chu 2. Let's now normalize it at 1K. The Moondrop Chu 2 sounds phenomenal. comparing it to the JD1, the JD1 does nothing better. Nothing. That's the reality. The True 2 sounds very competent. Okay, okay, but you know, Moondrop's got all these issues with quality control and so on. Fair enough. That's a very valid point. But assuming that, okay, you're going to get a decent unit, and the quality control issues, all brands have it. I'm very much a believer that 90% of the brands available from HiFi and non-HiFi have quality control issues. If you actually are going to be half lucky to get a decent sounding one, it's going to be better. And Moondrop True aside, I mean, let's take here another example. KZ ZVX. Where is it? KZ ZVX. Okay, say ZVX. There we go. KZ ZVX. I mean, seriously, there's no comparison between one tuning and the other. The ZVX sounds phenomenal. The DFI is basically the same thing. A little bit better executed mids. I'll show you now quickly in a second. And mind you, I mean, I'm not here trying to push KZ by any means. I mean, you guys, if you follow me, you saw that the review I gave the PR3. And I'm not afraid to say it. I mean, I pay for my stuff, so why am I going to now, oh no, I'm gonna stand back and not say what I feel? No. Okay, I believe it's this one, yeah. There we go. I mean, DFI, phenomenal sounding, phenomenal. And if it's the non-switch version, it's even better. Anyway, that's enough of that. I think I've made the point, so you guys have understood. Now, if I take the JD1 and I compare the JD1 with the two better offerings, let's start with the JD11. Fair enough, it's a more expensive set. Let me just normalize this at 1K. There we go. The execution of the JD11 in terms of the mids, upper mids, and treble, and then the past that, it's just way better than what the JD1 does. And the fact is the JD1 could have done it better. They could have tuned it better. That's the reality. It's not so much the bass that's the issue, but they could have done this area a little bit better, a little bit more polished up. And compared to the JD07, I mean, there's no comparison possible. The JD07 is just another league of performance. The quality of the bass, everything. It is a phenomenal IEM. Honestly, phenomenal IEM. And just for you guys to understand of how good it is, I'm just going to show you, just on the basis of just being interesting to see. I'm just going to show it to you compared to the SimGot, the EA1000. And mind you, I'm not saying it's as good as an EA1000. What I'm saying is that it sounds really competent. And compared to the format, okay, there we go. Okay, that's the format there. Let's line them up. And compared to the format, you can see format with the red nozzle, in terms of let's say from 150 hertz to 8K, they are basically very similar. And even in terms of sound, yes, you do notice more polish on the format. You do. The format does have more polish, more quality, but it's not a huge difference that you would say, oh my god, no, it's not. Trust me. You notice that the bass on the format is better executed. You notice that the format also has better sense of stage, of imaging, a little bit better improved. But the truth is the JD7 is 07, sorry, is a very good IEM, and one that didn't get really much love. Okay, and then finally the hybrid, the 1+4, the JH5, which is this, yeah. Okay, and I think the graph already says quite a bit. I mean, it's not so much the bass that's the issue. It's just this unusual manner of doing this area of the upper mids and treble, which basically what ends up happening is, because it's not that there is a large difference, no there isn't, but the difference that exists is enough because of this subdued section here between 1 and 2.5K, that this jumps out a little bit too much, and so it can get a little bit overly aggressive. And then when you start comparing it with some of the stuff that is available at the same sort of price or a little bit more, and again, let me just quickly show you here. Let's say the EM6L, there we go. I mean, honestly, the EM6L is just better. It just is better. Let me change the color here. There isn't this difference in terms of the bass, as you can see here. No, there isn't. There's a little bit more bass on the EM6L, but it's not the difference like it is here. Well, why? Because one is a 8mm, one is a 10mm driver. But the execution of this whole area here is completely different. It's just a nicer sounding IEM, you know, end of story. Another IEM which also is which was released recently, and I actually mentioned it as well, and I really enjoyed its sound. Again, the issue here maybe is the fact that I don't know, you have the EM6L and you've got a few others out there, is, let me just normalize this, about 500 Hertz, is the Chino. And interesting, as you can see, the Chino also has this kind of weird way of doing the pin again with this, you know, only when it reaches 2, it kind of boosts up all of a sudden. But the reason why the Chino ends up sounding better, let me just change the color to red, is because the balance that is obtained between the bass and the mids, and then the peak there of the upper mids, is better than the balance on the FiiO, and that's why it sounds better. Also, the Chino is better executed in terms of its extension past 8 to 10K. There's more sensation of soundstage of air, and it's a better sounding IEM, and it costs $89, so it's cheaper and sounds better. And then as well, the other one that I did mention is the the CCA, the Rhapsody. And I mean, I had the EPZ K5. I can show you quickly. The EPZ, the K5, where is it? Here we go. EPZ, the K5. I mean, this IEM sounds fantastic, honestly, really good, you know. There's very little you can falter on this, trust me, very little. It sounds really nice. So I think the biggest issue here with the JH5 is that maybe they didn't consider what was available, or what was the the competition like, and so they could have polished up. If this was just 2-3 dBs lower, that's it. You know, just lower this a little bit here, maybe boost just this, just change this area slightly. It would have been an IEM that maybe would have had a bit more of a placing in this market, because the reality is the market is extremely competitive. Anyway, guys, I've been going on forever. I hope you were able to take away some interesting points here on these IEMs from FiiO, JadeAudio, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, as always, like and subscribe, you know, and if there's any questions, please feel free to ask me. Take care now. Bye bye.